It's so hot right now, I have no idea why I'm recording this. But let's do it. Hey, what's up guys, Alex here. Thank you for checking this video and welcome to another episode of the Affinity design tutorial, the Affinity design series, or basically most accurately the series on the Turnip Man. We are continuing the work on the Turnip Man that we neglected for too long. I guess the latest video or the last video that I uploaded about the Turnip Man was almost a year ago, and this poor guy has been waiting for so long for some shades, some details, and just to feel alive. So I think it's time to continue the work and apply some more details to this beautiful character I've been designing, and let's see the rest of the techniques, or like the rest of the steps that I like to use when I convert a character from a pixel character, from something that I drew on paper to a vector character. So all vector, no pixel. Let's continue this work. So this is the situation that we are right now. We have this beautiful character that looks really gorgeous. Look at that. It's just really fantastic. We have no complaints about. The problem is that it's really flat. And if I zoom in a little bit and actually let me activate the layer where I had the original drawing that I scanned in order to create a Turnip Man, you can see like this looks better, like all the details and these little scratches, and it just has way more depth and way more accuracy. Like it feels real, it feels more alive. Also, this is super desaturated and I incremented the exposure just to make the dark strokes pop up more, but you get the idea. It's way more detailed, it feels more natural, it feels more real, while if we just see the vector file, and I'm not sure this is a complaint that you guys had in one of my videos, like some comments, it feels flat. It likes totally flat. It doesn't feel as detailed and as professional as the actual drawing. So now is the time to actually add the details, because all the things that we did until now was just creating the basic shape and just like giving the strokes and defining the shadows, the direction of the light, and so on, blah blah. So now let's continue our work by applying the details. And how I like to apply the details first, because the drawing is really accurate, it's something that we can use as a sort of placeholder, some guidelines to know where to do all these little details. I like to put the drawing on top of the vector layers and decrease the opacity around like 30-25%. It depends on you, it depends on how details and how you can see the strokes and the guides of the drawing without overlaying and without covering too much the actual vector file. So now that we have that, I'm gonna create a new vector layer and I'm gonna call this vector layer details. And in here I'm gonna go nuts. Like I'm not gonna care about naming all the layers. I'm not gonna care about organizing the direction, like the hierarchy of the layers. I'm just gonna create all separated vector lines or all separated vector shapes to have all these small details. And because it's a separated layer, it doesn't matter if I go on top of another layer and make some mistake. I'm not gonna affect the original design or the original drawing. And just to be sure, we can lock this layer. So you can select the layer and lock them here for the filling and the strokes. We can hide the guide, the pixel layer. And to do all the details, I'm gonna use the pencil tool, which is pretty amazing but kind of not intuitive in Affinity Designer. Let me show you what I mean. So if we select the pencil tool, and the pencil tool gives me the flexibility to draw freely and everything is converting to vector shapes, which is fantastic. If I start with a little color as a stroke of the pencil and I draw it, you can see where your stroke is generating while you're doing. If you leave it, release the pressure, everything is converted into vector. So you have your shape, you have your stroke, your curve, and everything respects what you're doing. But if, for example, I want to do it not with the stroke, but I want to do it with the filling, and I just switch actually let me deselect this shape and let me reselect the pencil tool. If I change the coloring from the stroke to the filling and I don't do anything, I just select the pencil tool and I set the filling, I start drawing, you can see I'm actually drawing here, I'm pushing, but nothing appears on the screen. Like it's like invisible. And if I release, look what happened. We have the stroke here with like the vector line, but the vector line is completely invisible because we don't have a filling color or a stroke color. And this feels kind of buggy, and this feels like it's a mistake of the pencil tool, but actually this is an option that is completely separate. So if we delete these, and we delete the first one also because we don't need it, we don't want to clutter our canvas. And once again, we assign a color to the filling and we select the pencil tool. Before using the pencil tool, if you want to use the color on the pencil tool as a fill, you have to check in the options palette, the palette underneath the toolbar that updates based on the tool that you have selected, you have to check use fill. If the use fill is checked, now look what happens. We start tracing, and whenever we trace, we don't see anymore the tracing getting shape or like generating the stroke, but automatically generates the filling. And this is perfect for all my details. And when we release, everything is converted into an open shape with this weird curve that we just generated. This is fantastic. That's what I wanted. So it's not the most intuitive things, the fact that you have to check the option use fill, but now you know it. Let's continue. Now it's time to start doing all our details. Another suggestion that I want to give you, it's something that I learned, painfully learned while doing all these things, is that it feels kind of natural when using the pencil tool to try to do one shape as big as possible, try to cover the biggest area possible. So for example, if I want to do this area, it feels kind of natural, starts doing like all the shapes here and try to go back and continue and cover and try to follow the shape. But as you can see, because of the nature of the filling, then we have to go back and be sure that the filling respects the entire shape. And most of the time we end up with these like sections overlying on each other, like going on top of each other, and we have this negative area that are really weird to look, especially like this area here. You can see like we get a negative area because the filling is going on top of itself. So my suggestion would be to do something like that. Instead of doing one single shape like all of this, that it's easier to make mistake, do separate shapes. It's not gonna take you longer to complete your work, but if you do some mistake on separate shape, you can just select one and delete it, and then you're set. It's fine, and you're not gonna delete a huge chunk. You're not gonna deal with different vectors if you want to change something. It's easier to manage, and if you do a mistake, it's easier to fix it. So let's continue. How's it looking, eh? We're improving a lot the details and it's looking fantastic. So there's nothing much to do here than just continue. So let's speed up this video a little bit more and just continue to do all these shenanigans. Okay, how does it look? There you have it, look at here. Nice, nice turnip man. Of course now it's kind of in your face. There are a lot of sections that probably they don't make sense because the stroke of the pencil had a different pressure, had a different color, had a different tone and darkness. But we can fix a bunch of things. So first, like this thing, I don't really like it. It looks kind of weird. Here also, like this whole belly section is no, I don't like this. This one I like it, and this one I don't. So I wanna recreate this without following the guidelines of the stroke, but doing something lighter, something more subtle that you cannot see it, that is not in your face and not too obvious. Because this guy was really overweight, so a lot of stretch marks around the belly. You have it, you have to make it, especially because his skin is not regular skin, it's just a turnip, so it's a vegetable and cracked a lot. It doesn't look good. I mean, he's sexy as hell, but it doesn't really look that great, if you ask me. And there you go, something like this. Let's see if it doesn't compromise too much the focus of the character. I don't want the whole focus of the character just like focusing on the belly and just, hey, this guy is fat. Look at that. This looks like... Okay, perfect. So now it looks super dirty. It looks like it was slapped in the mud or someone just like threw at him a bunch of... don't let me say how it looks like, but the fact that it's on a completely different levels, like all these details are inside on a completely different layer group, we can decrease the opacity of the layer group a lot and make it look less obvious, less in your face. So we could go on a 50%, and if we want, we can also multiply this thing. So if there are different shades and different, actually let's go maybe to 60%. Yes, I like it. Perfect, look at that, I love it. This was a quick, sort of like a quick episode to show you how I usually do when it comes to detailing all the things that they look super good on a canvas or like on an actual paper drawing, but they don't really look great when you transition and when you translate them to vector drawing, vector design. But as you can see, by using the pencil tool and creating all these separated open shapes, we can simulate all those like pencil stroke that we have on a piece of paper. And because everything is on a separated layer, we can manage the layer. So if you want, you can globally change the color of all the shapes. You can assign a gradient on top. You can mask some of them. You can have different styles based on the background color. So it's pretty great. The thing that I'm gonna do, like off camera, not right now, I'm just gonna do exactly the same, but for the leaves on the head. I'm just gonna do some free shapes just to give more texture and more credibility to these leaves. And after that, in the next video, we're gonna see how to apply a little bit of render shade on it. So giving a little bit of extra luminosity, giving a bit of reflections in some parts, and a little bit more depth. And if we have time, we can slap it on a background or just on a plain white background and give it some, at least give it a little bit of shadow on underneath his feet, because this guy is floating in a no space, just is floating in an infinite empty space. Probably that's why he looks confused. But yeah, that was pretty much it for this video. Hope you guys like it, and please give it a like or subscribe to my channel because I'm sweating. This is so hot in here. I'm just melting, and this glove, now it's filthy. I have to just squeeze it and water will come out, which is so disgusting. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I talk to you in the next video.